Come be a part of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics with your host, Dr. Ed Holliday. Hear the voices of liberty speaking all across America. Doc Holliday provides thought-provoking interviews and commentary about the issues and actions that are afflicting this country and what we need to do to get America back on track. Get fired up, get inspired, get on board with Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right now.
And here we go.
And once again, that's the sound of rock cracking. You've got Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics right here on webtalkradio.net. I'm your host, Dr. Ed Holliday, and we have got a great show this week. Kevin Jackson returns. We haven't had him on the show in it's been quite a while, and he's always got something funny, something serious, something that's a strong way to present it. And now he has a new movie. I didn't know he was doing movies, but we'll talk to him about that, called Bleeding Blue, a movie supporting the police across this country. And Doc Holliday has said, we support the police. Is there room for reform? Of course. Do we need to reform? Yes, there are places we need some reform, but by the most majority, 99% of police officers are out there to help and secure communities, and that is something that has been lost on the mainstream media. So we're going to talk about Bleeding Blue, the new movie that you can see by streaming. We'll see how you can see it, but we're going to talk to Kevin Jackson of the Black Sphere, a time when we haven't heard his voice on national news. He was let go by Fox News for something he said back in the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and I'm not even sure, won't go in all of that. He may, but we're going to get him on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics in just a few minutes. But first, let me remind you, there is all kinds of false news, fake news going on out there. It is unbelievable. If you try to listen to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, the mainstream media, it's just absolutely unbelievable, the amount and the ability of the Democratic Party has got themselves covered. In fact, sometimes you wonder if the media is using the Democratic Party to pursue their power, because they got more power than the Democratic Party in some cases. When I say that, I'm just saying they are molding the election. They're molding the mindset by the polls they use, by the words they use, by the news stories they tell, and the most important thing is the news stories they do not tell. So we see that time and time again, just like the hydroxychloroquine, for the way they ramp up against it. And then a good study comes out saying it can be helpful, and they ignore it. And after they ran against it and talked about studies that it killed people, and now they got a study saying it's helping people against the coronavirus, and yet the media is silent. Unbelievable what we get in the media time and week after week. Wow, wouldn't it be great to have somewhat a media that would try to tell the truth, try to tell both sides of a story? You're not going to see it in the mainstream media, and you don't see it much on Fox News even anymore. So I just have to let that blow off right here, because I know a lot of you are feeling the same way. Now let me tell you about Kevin Jackson, if you've not heard him. Sometimes he'll say some funny things. Sometimes he'll be insensitive in ways. If you're liberal, you may take offense to him. And he's African American, and he's very sharp-witted, and sometimes he will make people upset by the words he uses. So we're going to get him on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. And if he says something that upsets you, remember, we believe in freedom of speech, and we need to hear people's opinions. Kevin Jackson has a very, big opinion, and he, in all this onslaught against police officers and police, and to defund the police movement, and what's happening, they are being defunded in New York City and in all the major cities. They are defunding police when they're needed the most. But Kevin Jackson has got a new movie called Bleeding Blue. We're going to talk to him about that and talk to him about what's going on in America, talking about what's going on with the election coming up. And so we're going to get Kevin Jackson's point of view, and it may be too stout for some of you, but he is an African American who believes in being an American first, and that's what he believes. So we're going to get him on. Let's dial him up and put him on the air right now.
What's up, Tupelo, Mississippi?
Hey, Kevin Jackson. Good to have you back on the show here.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on.
Been a little while since we've talked to you, and a lot has gone on, and you got a movie out. Now, tell me about this movie. I didn't know you did movies.
A lot of people don't know what we do.
Okay.
Well, yeah, born of the Ferguson, stuff with Michael Brown Jr. and the lie that became Black Lives Matter. I was approached by some benefactors to do the film, and I said, they wanted me to write a book. And I said, I don't really want to write a book, but I'll do a film. And they go, have you ever made a film? And I said, no, but Hollywood can do it, so I can do it.
Okay.
And we made an absolutely spectacular film.
Wow, I've seen the preview, looked at that, and I didn't even know this was out. I had not heard about it. And I know, of course, it's hard, like promoting anything in this age of COVID-19. So,
right.
So how long has it been out, and how can people see this film?
Yeah, bleedingbluemovie.com is where people can see it, and it's streaming live. And actually, the Chinese Wu flu, I don't call it COVID-19, but the Chinese Wu flu has helped because people are now, in lockdown, and they're not going to theaters, so they need more entertainment. But here's what I'll tell you. If you watch this film and you're a conservative and you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. This film's amazing. I would say this, if Dinesh, I love Dinesh, we're good friends, but if Dinesh made this film, I would be saying this is Dinesh's best film. It's amazing. Wow. And I made it, and I know it sounds self-serving, but this thing is it's a work of art. And it tells the truth about policing, and I promise you will laugh, you will cry, and you will say, I want more. Some of you, I don't know what other – I've had some slight criticisms of it, but for the most part, in 98% of the cases, people go, this film is spectacular. We put it in 6 theaters just to test it. Uh-huh. And I had police officers crying on my shoulder, saying, Kev, thank you so much. Their kids were walking up to me crying, thanking me for showing what their parents do. They said this film should be seen by everybody who wants to go into law enforcement. They said it should be seen by every kid who's at high school age so they can understand what these people go through. Wait till you see it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not good. It's spectacular.
Wow. Well, I wasn't expecting anything less from you. I mean, you say you laugh and cry. I know with Kevin Jackson, there's going to be some laughter in there somewhere. There's got to be. And yet, tell me why. I mean, you are completely in the opposite direction of the mainstream media culture. I mean,
well, the media culture is one thing. Look, don't get it twisted. I'm not in the complete opposite of blacks with respect to police. That's a misnomer. The media amplifies a few black clowns on the left, and they make America think that black people have lost our minds. We call the cops 7 times more than anybody else. That certainly would not, be something that if we were getting killed by cops, why are we calling them so often? Why we interact with cops more than any other racial group. So how are we surviving? If there's this vendetta, this fatwa against black people by police, we sure seem to be surviving it. But I'll tell you this, when you see another black person, you better be scared. Because while police kill 250 blacks a year, mostly deserving to die because they're doing something wrong, black people kill 7,000 other black people every year. So look, if I'm stealing $200, $250 from you once a year, and another person is stealing 7,000, who bothers you the most, Ed? I mean, right. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go check out this dude that's stealing $7,000 from me, because the $250 I can forego, but I can't lose $7,000 and turn my face away. But BLM wants you to believe that that the cops killing 250 people is more important than black people killing 700,000 of us every year. Well, I don't buy it.
People will argue with you saying, "Hey, you're not really looking at the problem," and that's just what the mainstream media, that's what Antifa, that's what BLM.
Look, people can argue that if that's their argument, that is a stupid argument, because I don't need to. If you tell me where am I more likely to be killed, it isn't walking by a police precinct. It's walking in a black neighborhood. Let me ask you, if we're going to solve this problem and we're going to have this discussion and let's have an argument, tell me where a black man's more likely to be killed. Is he more likely to be killed walking in a black neighborhood or walking by a police station? Because I'm in the belly of the beast either way, right? Well, I've walked by many police stations and I don't even feel a twinge of like, oh my gosh, I could be killed. But if you go walk in Compton, or if you go walk in East St. Louis, I bet you will feel differently. So, look, I can defeat any argument on this because it's idiotic for us to be having this discussion. America's not racist. Cops are not beating up on black people. The school system that's built by leftists is destroying black America, not the school systems in the suburbs. And I could go on. All this so-called angst that's happening in the black community is caused by the very people that the majority of blacks vote for. And that's why Donald Trump is making an impact, because it's waking people up. They're seeing the level of crazy that we're getting to. Let me tell you something else. Here's a dirty little secret.
Okay.
The majority of blacks want policing in black neighborhoods. Don't believe this media hype. They want it. But people will act like, oh, no, they don't. That's a lie. It's absolutely a media fabricated lie.
Well, now that gets us, you mentioned President Trump. We're at in the midst of a presidential election along with the Chinese woohoo flu. And you almost got me saying it's the Chinese Wu flu is what you said.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I had to put the who in there. Okay. Chinese Wu flu. But we have a number of black Republicans that are running for different districts, the House seats. And
here's the thing about that, though, Ed. I don't get excited that we have X number of blacks running like that's some sort of litmus test. I'm glad that John James is running for Senate. I'm glad that my buddy Burgess Owens,
okay.
and others. I'm glad they're doing it, and they're good people. But I don't have a black count. I want the best people running that represent our values. And if it turns out that we get more and more John Jameses and Burgess Owens, congratulations to us. But I don't look at politics through the prism of black versus white. I look at it through their policies. And these are good men who will enact, I believe, good policies. So, I'm not going to play the game of the left of let's count our Negroes and see how many we have. Remember, here's Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders on the days during a debate, and Joe Biden, I got more blacks that are going to vote for me, and Bernie, I've got 13 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. They're counting their Negroes. That's silly. Conservatives don't need to count black folks. If Donald Trump's not black, I'm happier than this guy. I'm happier to have this white president than I was the previous black one, and I'm a black man. So it has nothing to do with black and white. It has to do with policy. And Donald Trump's policies have helped Americans. That's who we're trying to help. And sometimes those policies, get this, don't help the average American, the average conservative American. We will vote for policies that help the country, even though it might hurt us. That's the way we're supposed to be. When Jesse Owens went to the Olympics, he couldn't go sit at a water fountain in America. But you know what all of America did, including the racists in this country? They cheered for that black man to beat that white dude. That is what America's about, because they were cheering for the American to beat the German. That's what we're about. And that's why I know we can overcome any racism that's thrown at us. But the left wants you to believe that they're in Tupelo, Mississippi. Boy, Kevin, if you go down there, they'll get you, boy. Well, you know what? I've been to Tupelo, Mississippi, and I survived.
And you did survive, didn't you? Kevin, that's your voice It's good to hear your voice. I try to listen. I try to listen to CNN, MSNBC, just for my listeners' sake. And I mean, it's just hard to take it. I mean, it has gotten so atrocious. But I will tell you, your voice is refreshing. People want to hear your voice, and yet it's drowned out. And what I one time called it, what's the can opener effect? How can you open up this locked up can of viciousness? I mean, as far as what's out there, how can people hear the clarity that you have, and yet?
Well, so let me just interrupt and tell you that, first of all, you got to be strong in your commitment. I mean, I'm a Christian conservative and an American, and I'm strong in that. There's nobody that's going to take me off of that stance. And I know racism when I see it. And when you come to me and say Black Lives Matter, I go, don't bring your racist nonsense. You don't need to put a color in front of Lives Matter. So when you bring me nonsense, I push back on it. And I would just tell you, you got to question yourself. If you're not pushing back, what are you afraid of? You're afraid of losing your job. You're afraid of losing friends. None of them deserve you if you have to kowtow to that type of nonsense. As for me, Fox News fired me because I tweeted the truth about the Kavanaugh accusers. And people can look up what I called them, but it wasn't derogatory. It was the truth of what I called them. It's Fox's loss because Fox needs my kind of voice, and they need the way I deliver it. People talk to me about radio shows. I have a radio show, The Kevin Jackson Show. You're listening to me now. This is the way I talk on my show. If you want real unadulterated truth, I'm going to give it to you at thekevinjacksonshow.com. Tell people, get it out there. We pick the wrong heroes many times, and I'm not going to tell you, there are people doing great work. They don't do it like I do it. And if you like what they're doing and you want to spread the names of those folks, good for you. But I'm going to give you my brand of truth. And if you like it, support it. My film, Bleeding Blue Movie, is me solving a problem, trying to solve a problem. It isn't me talking about trying to solve a problem. It's me doing something, putting my money and my effort and my heart on something that needs to be fixed. And we fix problems. That's what my organization does. So if you want somebody that's going to solve problems, you're listening to his voice. If you want somebody that's going to be out there talking about how pretty they are, how cool they are, or whatever, that's not me. So if you want a warrior, you got one, because I'm going to be in the face of BLM till the day till they're gone, or I have no more breath in my lungs.
Well, Kevin, I can't do this show without asking you what do you think about Kanye West running for president?
Kanye's got mental illness, and it's a shame, because here's the thing: in what he does for a living as a musician, I don't really follow his music, but I've heard many people tell me this: the guy is a genius. I believe it. I believe he's Amadeus, a black Amadeus. The problem is, as with geniuses of his sort, they tend to be crazy. They tend to be eccentric and do things, and they have all kinds of other issues. And it's sad that when God gives you so much of something, sometimes he takes it away in other areas. Okay. And that's what's happening with Kanye.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, go ahead.
And so what I would say is, I pray for this guy, because I think when he's in his sane mind, he gets it. He wants to solve these problems. And I think his frustrations are he so wants to do it, and he doesn't know how to do it. And it comes off in these quirky ways. But here's the cautionary tale for us is, stop putting your faith in these so-called stars. When Kanye was having, meeting with Trump, everybody's, look at this, man, we got a rapper, we got a guy, and he's out, he's making religious things. Yeah, be happy that when he's in his very sane mode of doing things, that he gets it. But don't put so much into it that he becomes your Pied Piper and your warrior. That because man is going to let us down. And that's what I tell, we have to. That's why when I tell people, look, I'm a Christ follower, but I'm a flawed guy. But here's what I'll guarantee you: at my core, God is at my core, and everything I do, every fiber of my being, is done for the glorification of what I believe God has me on this life to do. You're going to make mistakes. I call these ladies, these women. I tweeted, what I tweeted and got fired from Fox. Some people can look at that as a mistake. I don't. But, maybe that's God's way of moving me in a different direction. And maybe some of you see that as a mistake. But let me tell you, what I say at my core still holds true because it is guided by good, solid common sense and biblical principle. And if you focus on that, you'll be happy with the work that I provide for you. But don't put your faith in me as a person. Put your faith in the thing that drives me as a person. And that's what I put my faith in for the American people. I don't put my faith in the person, in Ed or Tim who's listening to the program. I put my faith in what you believe in, that we have this common core of morality and ethics that drives us, and it's spiritually driven by a higher power. And I'm not trying to get preachy because I'm not that dude. But I'm telling you, that's what drives us, and that's what keeps us together. That's why Jesse Owens could go, and we all, and the people that were racist supported him. That's why there were white people saying, Joe Louis, knock that white man out, when Joe Louis fought Max Schmeling, right? That's why.
Well, now, Kevin, there's one thing I just thought of about a month ago, and I've worked with different people over the years. I know there's a Reverend William Owens and helped him with his book and editing that, but he came out with one of the things that is really just, I hadn't heard anybody else say it. I wanted to hear what your thoughts are. He was saying we need to get rid of the word racism because it promotes the myth that we're different races. And he says, we're one race. The Bible tells us we're one race, one blood, and there's not the racist are the ones who develop race. I mean, it's not biblical. It's man-made that we're different races.
That may be true, but I don't know that I agree. That would be like saying we have to not talk about people that have red hair, right? Or let's not talk about people that have blue eyes. It's a thing. And we have to recognize it's a thing. It's kind of like when people tell me, I don't see color. And I go, okay, see, now you've lost all credibility with me because you coordinated your outfit, didn't you? Yeah. You know that roses can be different colors, and you know a red rose from a white rose. Don't tell me you don't see color. That's a lie. I'm a pragmatist. My degrees are in electrical engineering, computer science, and math. My life is built on logic and reason. And I understand my emotions, but don't tell me you don't see color. Now, you can tell me I don't measure people by the color that I see. That I can believe. But don't tell me you don't see color. So when we say, oh, let's get rid of racism because we're not racist, yeah, you are. And you know what? I enjoy that. I have white friends, and I'll see them, and you know what I greet them with that? I say, what's up, white boy? Yeah. Maybe, hey, what's up, black dude? And we joke with each other. I had a buddy of mine, my brother was singing, we were all camping, and my brother was singing an old Sam Cooke tune, and he said, I was born by the river. And Eddie said, without skipping a beat, well, you must have fell in the mud. And we all cracked up laughing, right? Well, it was funny, and we know our differences, but you know what we know more than that? We are absolutely best friends and buddies, and we know each other, and we love each other. So
and you can laugh at
things. I see you have big feet. I see you have a bigger nose than I do, or your ears are flared out, or, you talk with a lisp. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to love you, and I'm going to joke with you about it. And the more that I joke with you about it means the more that I care about you.
And what he was saying is, of course we see color, but it's just that when people say, well, you're a different race, you're white or you're black, it just... this whole thing about racism, who's a racist, how far are racist, what does racism mean? And yet, if we're one race, then we should be loving each other, and we are different colors.
We're the human race, so we're one race, but we are all made up of different things, and we can make distinctions about this stuff. But at the end of the day, race is not an issue, and you don't have to get rid of the word racism. You just got to get rid of the people that want to exploit race for their own benefit. That's what you got to get rid of.
Okay, well, one thing, I know we got to end up the interview here in just a couple minutes, but the thing, ever since I've met you, Kevin, and you've always inspired me, and you with your Christian commitment, with your laughter, with your ability to laugh at things, and be able to get concise statements and what's going on in the world, seeing through all the cloud and messes to see what the truth is and what this country needs. I mean, you can point us right toward it. The thing we see is how do so many people get blinded by the left, the scales over their eyes. I mean, is there any way that we're going to see in our lifetimes people come out and see the truth? And I'm not saying, I'm not saying this Democrat, Republican, or conservative, liberal. I'm just...
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah, so let me answer your question real quick, briefly. The short answer is, sure, it can happen in our lifetime, but it'll happen when people stand up for themselves. When, if somebody white said, you're a racist, or you owe me reparations, and you say, I don't owe you anything, and you're never going to get anything from me that I don't owe you. So you can talk reparations all you want, but you're not getting it. When somebody talks to you about Black Lives Matter, you go, all lives matter. And if you think your black life means more than my life, then you're the racist, not me. And I will not stand to have somebody, a racist, try to accuse me of being a racist. And when they talk about black issue versus white issue, you say we are one race, the human race. If you're fortunate enough to be an American, that is probably the best thing you can put on being a human being. And if you don't like it, find another country. But you're not going to get any apologies from me about your past or whatever, because I haven't done you any wrong, and you're not going to make me feel bad about it. And when you start talking like that, these people will back down. You're being bullied, white folks listening to this program, and this black man's trying to teach you how not to be bullied. I'm going to teach you how to fight for yourselves. And stop being bullied. And you know how bullies are. If you let them bully you, they're going to keep taking your money. Every day at school, they're going to keep beating you up, blood in your nose, or whatever it is. Stop being bullied.
Wow. Well, Kevin, you summed it up right there. And it's great to have you back on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. And
all right.
Look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Now, I'll tell all our listeners go Bleeding Blue is the movie. And
BleedingBlueMovie.com. And if they want to contact me, the KevinJacksonShow.com. But, Doc, you take care, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. God bless you. And that was Kevin Jackson. And you can check out his movie, Bleeding Blue. And we do need to support our police officers, our law enforcement. We have to support these good people. Now, are 99% of them good? Absolutely. Do we have a bad apple or two out there? No doubt. And that's why we need reform, to root out some bad apples. But we cannot defund the police. We cannot say get rid of police. We need law and order. Kevin Jackson has said, needs to remind us, the mainstream media is trying to mold and scare and put fear and believe and make people believe that Donald Trump is over and Joe Biden's going to be the next president. But that's what they did with Hillary Clinton. They declared her a winner, said it's not even worth going out and voting for Trump. He's a laughingstock. That's exactly what the media did 4 years ago. Well, what I'm telling you is get out there, let's work hard. And Kevin Jackson said, don't be bullied by the Black Lives Matter organization, Antifa, the Marxists. Don't get bullied by them. Tell people about Kevin Jackson's movie, Bleeding Blue. And I'm glad we had him on the show. He's a controversial, yes. Does he say things that I agree with 100% of the time? No. But I do think his voice is so valuable. We need it. We need to listen to it. And then you make your own decision. But you heard it right here on Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. See you again next week.
Thanks for joining us today, and remember to listen again next week for another edition of Doc Holliday's Rock Splitting Politics. You can order Ed's new book, Bedrock Truths, by clicking on the book cover right in front of you on the screen, or visit DocHolliday.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.